As we showed in the previous page, why we need to have this memory hierarchicals in the storage space. So to answer this question, we need to have three factors to consider: how fast for the storage space you may require, and how much space you may require for storing your data, and how expensive you can afford for this kind of storage devices. And what you can have or for your machine is the balance among these three factors: how fast, how much space, and how expensive. And the purpose for this hierarchical is to allow a fast access to large amounts of memory at a reasonable cost. If you have a larger budget, then you can build a very fast machine with not so space. However, the real-world machine will be a balance among these three factors you may need to consider. So we have mentioned already, for the memory types, besides the registers, the main memory storage devices we may need to consider will be the cache, the main memory, the secondary storage, as well as tertiary storage space. Well, among these four different categories of memory space and devices, they can be divided in two categories depending on if the data in them are volatile or non-volatile. So for the cache and the main memory, they are volatile memory devices. The main reason is because if we shut down the machine or just cut the power, the data inside the cache and the main memory will be lost. We can have no access to them anymore. However, for the hard drive in the secondary storage and the tertiary storage, the data will always be there. So for the cache, it is volatile, and the size we have for the caches inside the CPUs normally in several megabytes. Of course, we can have larger ones if we have larger budgets, and we can redesign the CPU of the caches with some customizations. Normally, it is in several megabytes nowadays, and the speed of data transfer between cache and the processor can be very fast, normally in a few nanoseconds. As to the memory, it is also volatile. As we all know, if we just shut down the machine, the data we have in the memory will be lost. I think you have some experiences with this, right? If you are editing your documents in the Office Word, however, you forget to press the save button, and suddenly the machine was shut down by accident. When you come back to the operating system, your editing probably will be lost if you forget to save them to the disk, right? The main reason is because for data stored in the main memory, they are volatile. And for the main memory, the size for it will be in several gigabytes. Depending on the budget, we can have very large memories. Also, it depends on the operating system, how much space it will allow or it will support for the main memories. The speed for the data transfer between the memory and the cache can be in several, like 10 to 100 nanoseconds, which will be much slower than the cache. For the data transfer between cache and processors. Compared with the cache, main memory is much larger, however, it is much slower, right? Then we can have the secondary storage space. It is non-volatile. In other words, for data stored in them, they will always be there, no matter what happens. So for the size of the secondary space, it can be in several terabytes for the hard drive, right? And the speed for data transfer between disk and the main memory will be in several milliseconds, which is much slower than the data transfer between memory and the cache, right? Then we have some other tertiary storage. They are also non-volatile. Like for example, we can have the magnet tapes, optical disks. And the size of this kind of device can be much larger, in several terabytes or even petabytes. And the data speed transfer between the tertiary storage and the disk can also be much slower, in several seconds or even in several minutes. So this can provide you with a high level information about storage devices and the space we can have in a machine.